Yannick.
Constance, enchanté. C'est bon.
J'aimerais que j'effectue la lecture des consignes en anglais ou en français.
En anglais.
Each team has 20 minutes to present its case to the judges. I will show above for the 10, 5, last 2 minutes, and last 30 seconds of the presentation. During the last 10 seconds of the speech, I will indicate by means of my two hands the number of remaining seconds. A team not having ended its presentation after 20 minutes will be stopped to move on to the period of questions. A period of questions of a maximum duration of 5 minutes is assigned to the judges at the end of the presentation. I would like to remind to each judge that it's mandatory to ask at least one question during this period. I will invite the judges to introduce themselves.
Hi, the Oliver or whatever. HR business partner for Solotech.
Hi, Geneviève Boucher, a training and organizational development advisor.
Mathieu Laforge, I'm Vice President of Technology and Marketing.
Hi, Julien Catafort, Application Lead for Solotech.
So I just go on. So the goal of every organization is to grow, and that's exactly what Solotech has been doing since its foundation. But as you've grown, your foundation has gone weaker and weaker. An illusion I want to draw to is Jenga blocks. The game incorporates where you take the blocks from the bottom and bring it higher and higher. But as you're growing and growing, like your company has done, the foundation is become less stable. So before we want to go dive into recommendation, this is Chris, Constance, myself, Yannick, and we'll provide you a wired cloud, a complete solution capitalizing on growth opportunities and reinforcing this foundation that's unstable.
Alright, so what is the current situation and the current landscape of the company? Firstly, I would like to address internally what the situation is at hand and what we think is important to address today. By acquiring new companies, especially new software pieces, Solotech has gotten many new pieces of software and has not necessarily integrated them completely at this point in time. And so this is the main challenge that we face as a company as a whole, because you may have the data and you may have it somewhere stored, but if it's not fully integrated, then not each piece of software can go and grab the key performance indicators that you would like to see necessarily to make your key business decisions. And so this is the main internal situation that we will be addressing today in our presentation. And the second portion will be addressing externally. What is the industry landscape today? Well, in terms of performances outside and about, we're seeing the industry being dominated by young performers with new visions at hand. And so what we really want to do today is that we want to stress that Solotech target these new consumers, especially these young and I would say performers under the age of 40 more specifically, who have these advanced visions of how to design their stage, for example, and how to innovate the music industry in terms of live performance, and really offer them a new solution that will be easy to use, simple, and informative. So, just to summarize everything, what we think Solotech needs and what we will be addressing today is an integrated ERP, a data management module, the use of financial reporting within the ERP, a business intelligence unit to grab new data and give the business users more information, and finally a scalable system that is ready for growth and for the upcoming years.
So what does that entail? We need an ERP. That's the core of our solution. We need an ERP that has scalability, first of all, so that your company can grow, and through your acquisitions, and onboard these new companies. We need to have remote access as to onboard new companies more easily. We need to have agility and flexibility so you can have business-focused modules on your data. And you need also customization, obviously, and system integration for add-ons. So what we see is you have cloud solutions, software as a service, on-premise. We decided to go, what we didn't like about the on-premise part is because if you have on-premise, you need to have it in all of your locations. If we have cloud access, then you can have one centralized solution. And amongst those who offer cloud solutions, there are obviously the Oracle, the SAP, and custom solution. What we decided to go with is Oracle. From this chart, you see that Oracle and SAP kind of were on the same level, but we're going to explain further in the presentation why we decided to go with Oracle. So what's the opportunity at hand? Simply by fully integrating and standardizing the current ERP architecture and creating a new online design solution platform to serve as a principal point of contact, we are confident that our combination will allow Soltech to improve day-to-day processes as well as leverage growth opportunities in the landscape of B2C. So we know that you have a lot of contacts with both B2C customers and B2B customers, different types of projects, but our kind of candy factor that we want to bring in a little later that my colleague will present is kind of touching more upon the B2C aspect of the company. So what I'm going to talk about is how is this ERP going to work actually. There's already an existing infrastructure, including the integration project operation, which is, if we understood completely correctly from the case, an individual existing software system or database. And what we want to propose is actually a centralized ERP system with Oracle, which contains standard features such as billing, inventory, resource planning. What we think will require customization perhaps is more on the rentals, contract side, and perhaps a little bit on the sales side also, since you have this new and used aspect of the business. So what we want to do is we want to have Power BI, which is Microsoft software, read into the ERP and also the integration project database so that we can have relevant dashboards and data insight. So why Oracle? Well, it's an established brand, but the most important aspect is there's already Oracle in the business. So there's a question of legacy. Secondly, Oracle is, as I said, an established brand, great customer support. It is cloud enabled, scalability, it is customizable, and it's very versatile and it's readable. Like a lot of software systems can read into Oracle versus some lack of flexibility in other types of ERP systems. So the roadmap for the ERP. Well, time zero, what we need to do, we need to evaluate the Oracle server capacity that we have right now and see, do we need an extension? What software do we need to add on this Oracle server? And we need to discuss, obviously, with the sales rep and an expert consultant in Oracle integration. Then, what we propose is, as we centralize the ERP and most of the big kind of data-heavy processes, what we want to have is really simple, standard frontline activities, frontline files. So these flat file format, so for the pay, the quotes, for the sales rep. And then through TIBCO, we can actually automatically integrate these flat files and other, we can also use TIBCO to integrate your legacy data into the new system. Because TIBCO is actually kind of a read-all, do-all solution in terms of data manipulation. So it's really efficient for data transfer and data cleaning. So third step, we want to sandbox in Oracle for the standard modules. Oracle has some sales-oriented solution, so you can have standard HR, standard accounting modules. Then we're going to need to develop some business-specific custom modules upon that database. And finally, we want to integrate business intelligence. So how will it work overall? Kind of went through it. We want to have the standardized forms, so keep the process really simple at the front end. Then through TIBCO, we take these really simple files and we can do some data processing, transformation, automation, and streamlining. We want to actually clean the data, keep it simple, reformat, standardize data. So better data integration in your Oracle system, no trash data, if I can call it that way. Then we do all the finance, the reporting. Oracle has some really financial, already has integrated some financial reporting modules, which will allow you to create some automated reports. And then your employees, which require access, can have access through a web portal anywhere and anytime. But what's nice about this centralized solution is you don't have to buy a license for every employee. You just need to have a specific license for those people that really need it, because the frontline people will only have these flat file formats. So these are Excel formats or PDFs, or etc. So then, last step, Power BI actually reads into this Oracle database and the integrated projects database, which possibly can be integrated later, but in another system, because it's not exactly ERP. We want for the sake of financial reporting. So Power BI is interesting because if you compare to other solutions, visualization solutions such as Tableau or any dashboards that is offered in CRM solutions such as Salesforce, Lightning, etc., it has a really more important computation power. It's really, really strong. And it's easier to compute dashboard metrics, more flexible, and it's machine learning enabled. So why is it interesting that it is machine learning enabled? It's actually because machine learning is unbiased. So you can actually run machine learning on the data that is available in your ERP or other databases and be like, okay, so this machine learning module actually just returns the most efficient models that it has found. So if two seemingly unrelated elements are linked together by this machine learning module, you can actually have these new insights into the data. And Power BI also allows you to do the usual dashboard, etc., innovative, relevant dashboards, and it has a good the external data feed integration, so if you want to integrate external data. So now my colleague Chris will move on with the Candy solution.
So, why was it Candy solution? Because this really touches home to me personally, because I'm very involved in the music industry myself, and I just really like to explore new opportunities, and especially when it comes to stage design, I think that there's a lot that can be done. And so when we view, let's say for example, the top 100 DJs of the world, if you look at the age differences between them, a majority of these DJs that are bringing in millions of dollars of revenue for companies are between the ages of 20 being the #1 DJ in the world, and then 40 years old. And so they have this massive vision in their mind, and they just really need an opportunity and a backbone support to bring it to life. And so this is our growth opportunity. We really want to focus on targeting the B2C market because we have these performers that have these visions in mind, that work with small teams. So let's say 3 to 4 people in a design team, mainly being their head audiovisual engineer, and then maybe their booking agent that travels with them constantly. And so we want to introduce My Solo Vision. And My Solo Vision will be an online platform that allows these young performers to go online and on the run constantly be looking at what Solotech has to offer them in terms of solutions and stage design, and really improve the way that business is done and communication is done between yourself and the classic performer that is traveling the world every day. How does it fit in terms of the ERP and what you currently have in terms of IT? Well, it's pretty simple. My Solo Vision will be totally web designed, and so what it essentially does is it's used as a main communication platform between your engineers and your project managers and the performer. And it essentially feeds data into your ERP. So let's say booking orders and payments all flow into your ERP and can be centralized there so that artists can constantly keep up to date with their profile with your company. Let me walk you through an example with a case study of one of my favorite artists. Let's say Eric Pritz. For those of you who don't know Eric Pritz, he's a very established performer in the industry. And this year, over the past year, he's been developing some new stage designs that I think are very interesting in terms of 4D. And his principal rig is anywhere between 20 to 30 moving heads, a number of lasers, and then his really candy factor, the way I would put it, is having 4 LED panels that allows him to leverage that into 4D technology and bring visuals to life in a way that we haven't seen before. And so how would, let's say, an artist like Eric Pritz go about it and communicate with your business? Well, it's pretty simple, and that's the goal. Keep it simple and keep it easy to use so that artists can use it every day. So the artist, visual engineering team usually already has some kind of sketch with their technology and the units that they want to include in their setup already designed on their computer. And so what we want to do is integrate that and allow them to upload it to their current profile. That way your project managers can see that and have an estimate of what their units would be in terms of rental. After that, they would essentially schedule an initial meeting. That way they could get into personal contact with you, because we do believe that personal contact is still necessary in an online environment, and really hash out the details of what is possible and what is not possible. This also allows your project managers to get an insight as to what units are being requested in the modern day and age, and this can later feed into your ERP and acquiring new tech further down the road in the growth stage. And then after the initial concept viewing, it's really just a discussion of how we can bring this project to life and reiterating this cycle until the final product is ready. And this is where Solotech really shines, is when they help the artists bring their vision to life and support them with the tech that is done. And so I would just like to reiterate that this platform is nothing too fancy initially, but the goal is to keep it easy and simple so that the everyday user can access it on the run and really say, this is what we need to bring our vision to life, and this is the company we want to associate it with, being Solotech. Now, of course, there are some financial costs that come into a project such as this magnitude, and so I would just like to quickly go through the assumptions and what we factored into the costs here. So, for one-time fees, we considered the expansion of the on-site server that my colleague mentioned, and a 1-year consulting fee. What this means is that we would essentially like to have a 1-year consultant come in and look at your current data flow structure and really hash it out, because there are some detail-oriented things that we have to take care of before fully implementing an ERP of this size. And then the rolling fees would be something like typical subscription, Power BI subscriptions, an Oracle engineer that would help you restructure the financial reporting and the data flow. That way you guys can get your financial reports literally with a click of a button. And then for the project as a whole, between the web development and then the restructuring of the data, we assumed that we would need anywhere between 3 to 4 developers. We went with 4 developers just to be safe. And this would translate into a 5-year present value of 2.6 million, anywhere between 2.6 million parted to 3.8 million, as well as factoring in contingency funds in there as well.
Thank you. So now that we've had this foundation of the Jenga block sorted, and you're growing and giving you recommendations to keep growing that block, it's all good and well, but what's the use if you don't have effective IT use of this new implementation, of this recommendation? So here's the implementation plan: is to communicate, integrate, and reiterate it, and you want to bring along the employee through that process so they're part of the implementation and the recommendation, and that you see the purpose of this recommendation. So the first part is communicate. You want to have a purpose of this. You want to communicate the purpose of the implementation and how it's going to affect their life as an employee within the company. And so with that, you're going to have a general announcement to affect the divisions by email and meeting. Finally, you're going to have the infra lead, support tech, and system admins as this project management team working with the super users that will be chosen later on. And then you're going to hire a process engineer consultant to work with the project management team and really have expertise flowing from all employees, all parties. And finally, you're going to pull these super users from each division so they can have a trickle-down effect with the rest of the employees. And these are people that are highly influential and performing so that there's actual change within the recommendation. Secondly, you want to integrate, which is a feedback and support. So you're getting feedback from the super users integrated within the recommendation. You're going to commence the training modules. And finally, you're going to have resources available such as frequently asked questions, that are going to be online, as well as super user mentorships that are going to be paired. To reiterate, we're going to reinforce this. So there's going to be bug fixes. You're going to have adaptive training before and after with KPIs of the performance. So you can kind of identify the gaps with this informal evaluation and improve upon them with each custom-made employee. So for the risk and mitigation, we see three ones: delays, system compatibility, and ERP adoption. So for the mitigation, we're going to have a roadmap and independent project units and dedicated project management team. For system compatibility, because Oracle is already installed within your company, we don't see that as a problem, as well as Microsoft for files, as well as TIBCO. And ERP adoption, you have public consulting on system requirements and change management, like I mentioned before, the employee hiring. So the implementation timeline. Right now, you're going to discuss with Oracle, start recruitment for the process of the developers. You want to, within 3 months, you want to hire developers for ERP and start the process going. 6 months, have this data prep with TIBCO and Oracle Standard Module Sandbox. And then within 9 months, you have this Power BI on the project data, which is the part 1 of it. So 12 months in, you have Oracle business-specific application development, as well as roll out this one supervision, the candy factor we're talking about. And then within 15 months, you have ERP testing with the superior users and employee trainings, and then you launch within 18 months. So what do you have to do tomorrow, though? And that's contact Oracle sales representatives. You have a senior executive communication plan, so you can have the trickle-down effect starting. And finally, an expert consultant on Oracle ERP that you can hire. The key takeaways here is that integrate. You want to scalable ERP facilitates growth by integrating some of the data silos. You want to innovate this adoption of Power BI, which allows for in-depth insight. Excuse me. Thank you.
Good job. Yes. Shall I start?
Yes.
Okay. I like your B2C approach. It's not something necessarily that we're looking at a lot, but it's very creative. I want to go in the solution first. You are recommending Oracle, but you're also bringing in Microsoft and TIBCO, which is an independent vendor. Did you consider full Oracle? And if yes, why did you choose differently?
Well, so you have to think about the fact that what we wanted to do is actually TIBCO. I see TIBCO as a temporary solution, okay? In the sense that right now you have all these systems all over the place. Not all of them are. Some of them are SQL, some of them are Excel, some of them are files, some of them are probably JSON and other file formats. The advantage of TIBCO is you can actually take all that, have a few processes, you can actually program them and automate those processes and feed everything into Oracle. So TIBCO is this kind of buffer that helps you transfer your data. And that's why we brought it in the presentation, just to actually offer a solution to facilitate this data transfer. So that's what TIBCO is for. Once this kind of bulk transfer is done, and that the standardized flat file forms are in place for the frontline users, then TIBCO is no longer necessary. So really, TIBCO is a data integration module software, so it's only useful in the short term. For Power BI,
transition measure to
it's
get
a
into the full
transition
ERP.
measure,
Okay,
exactly.
cool.
For Power BI, well, Oracle does have some actual dashboard solutions, but if I remember well, and cut me off on that, but Oracle dashboard solutions are only SQL enabled. So you actually have to run an SQL query on your data. So what you want to output has to be outputable by an SQL query. How is Power BI different is that you have some other features which are more similar to Excel files. So it's kind of integrating this. You can run the SQL, you can apply filters, you can do the whole SQL search, but you can also add on supplementary information. So it's more flexible, different type of charts, different types of dashboards. So why Power BI? Simply because it's stronger.
Good. Very good answer. Next, I'll take all of that. Yeah.
No, very complete.
Seriously? Okay, what about change management? We talked about it a bit. What kind of team do you see? What kind of, when should we start?
Training.
You
Change
did
management.
mention, like, there's
Yeah.
training, you gotta be there, but what's happening tomorrow? And when are we gonna be talking to these people during the project?
Yeah, so once you've
See the
selected,
field view of it.
yes, so once you've like selected your solution and content Oracle, you want to kind of go from the top with the influence. So like the senior executive plan, like we talked about, kind of set out that communication plan you're going to move forward with the rest of the company. Once that's done, you have like those divisions that are chosen and the super users with the general announcement after that. So you can really start as soon as you've chosen your solution and you know all the criteria that you're going to enforce it with and how each criteria is going to be relevant to each employee. In terms of implementing it, that depends obviously on when you get a complete answer from Oracle and how when it's feasible on how the consultants feel it can be implemented with the LS employees. But based on the communication plan, so it's very much you can go tomorrow once Oracle's done.
And about the communication plan, sorry.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Thank you. About the communication plan, we have a lot of employees who never came at the office. They
Yep.
are the whole year on job site, on tour with an artist. How do you plan to reach out to them, to make them mobilized by this project? How will you do the communication for them?
Or
Yeah.
even the training.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very good question. You want-
Can I go?
Yeah, go.
Okay. So the vision that we had about the change management is actually we want to have, we saw your organizational chart and we saw that on the IT side you really had two different sides. There was the kind of the developer side and the infrastructure side. So we think the infrastructure should be responsible for project management throughout because it's probably them that are going to be responsible for maintenance. So we want to have
Sorry, it's over.
Thank you.